Hello there. I'm Corey Blake, and I've spent the last 2 years obsessing over a question that most people I don't believe are asking yet. How do we preserve human magic when we build with AI? See, I'm not a developer. I'm a guy who used to star in commercials for major brands. A TEDx speaker.
It's not unusual for me to see heads go, yes, right?
Who's been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and USA Today. My work in storytelling has entertained over 100 million people.
Timeout's over. Watch the man, not the boss. Woo!
But more importantly, it's guided over 1 million people to share their own stories. And my work in vulnerability, it's been leveraged by Microsoft, Workday, ADP, and countless other companies to build trust within teams. So when I started building with AI, I brought something different to the table. 20 years of understanding what makes human beings feel seen, heard, and transformed.
And so I'm going to start off by revealing one of my greatest vulnerabilities, and you might find yourself looking at it right now.
After thousands of hours of rigorous AI collaboration, I have learned that the difference between AI that feels transactional and AI that feels transformational, it's not in the technology. It's in how deeply we're willing to teach it about being human. At RTC, our company is devoted to using entertainment to educate, motivate, and inspire. And we help teams and companies to trust themselves and one another. One of our successful products is a purpose workshop that helps people to uncover their life's purpose. Through the guided videos and a single worksheet, nearly 1,000 people have been through the workshop, and they rated it an average of 8.5 out of 10, something I'm super proud of. I already knew it worked, but I also knew that because this is a vulnerable human piece of work that requires sensitivity, that when I personally coached people one-on-one through the workshop, the results were even more impactful. So what I set out to prove was that adding a coaching chatbot to accompany my video guidance would dramatically improve the experience and could be done without the AI going off the rails and ruining the magic of the workshop that makes it a transformative experience for people. I hope you're ready, because I'm going to show you how I did it. And as I do, you're going to learn how to prepare rigorously so that you get remarkable results from your AI, how to play rigorously so that you and your AI make each other better, and how to build rigorously so that your end user, even if that's you, feels a sense of awe when working with your AI. Let me show you where I started. I didn't start by telling AI what to build. See, for AI to be an exceptional collaborator, it was going to need all the details about the workshop process. That meant that I had some prep work to do. I needed it to understand the order that the user sees each step unfold, because it would be coaching each person in that order. That meant converting the videos in the workshop into audio versions for easier transcription, dropping every transcript into a single document in order with the prompts that the user is asked between them. Then I took this journey document and I uploaded it into projects that I had created in both Claude and ChatGPT. In addition to the journey, I uploaded a description of the workshop, the worksheet participants use, and I uploaded the recommended mindset, our 3 agreements. Well, at this point, I'd spent an hour preparing context and sharing it with Claude and ChatGPT, but I wasn't done. Remember, I called this rigorous prep. For AI to better understand the user journey, I was going to need to give it examples of participant responses to each of the 5 prompts throughout the workshop. That took another hour. Still, I wasn't done. The success of this AI-powered workshop was going to hinge on the AI's ability to coach people in my unique signature coaching style.
I want you to grab all of that energy that you have experienced in articulating what you stand for. I want you to feel that right in your gut.
Well, it just so happened that I had a dozen recordings of coaching sessions. Clients had previously said that I had permission to use for training purposes. So I still spent another 2 hours removing any highly personal or identifiable information from those 94 pages of coaching transcripts. These would help AI to unlock the magic of my style. So into the project knowledge they went. At this point, I'm 4 hours in, and I haven't even asked the first question to AI, but they were both stocked with context. Here's what this means for your next project. When it comes to the context, also known as the project knowledge or the knowledge base, you want to give it what you do, the complete process of what you're creating or what you're reimagining. You want to give it how it works, the supporting materials and the tools that you use to do your work. You want to tell it why it matters. This is your values, your principles, what you believe. You want to tell it what success looks like real examples of the outcome if you have them. You want to tell them how to do it in your unique style. Most people, they stop at number 1 or number 2. But if you want to be inspired, if you want to feel a sense of awe in the quality of your AI partnership, give it all 5. All that prep, and I was ready to start my conversation with AI. I began by initiating conversations with both ChatGPT and Claude in the very same way. Can you please review the project files and let me know that you understand my initial intent? My first questions are simply to confirm that the context that I've provided is helping them understand my intent with the project. I'm also looking at their response style to see which feels emotionally resonant in accordance with the intent of the project. In this case, ChatGPT approached my question with a structured technical breakdown. Claude, on the other hand, recognized the workshop's emotional architecture. I knew in that moment Claude was going to be my primary AI partner for reimagining our workshop, and ChatGPT would be my second set of eyes. Here's your next practical tip. Match the AI personality to the essence of your project. Go to ChatGPT when you need structure, analysis, technical excellence. Go to Claude when you need emotional intelligence, nuance, vulnerability. Choose based on whichever your project needs most. And a pro tip, don't be afraid to switch primaries throughout your project as some of your needs shift. Now, with our context in place and our primary and secondary AI chosen, it was time for the last piece of our rigorous prep, formulating our plan. If it was up to Claude, we would have started building already. Claude was like, let's go, bro. So I applied the brakes. I asked it to summarize what we had determined thus far. I took that summary, along with all of the same context that I'd given to Claude and to ChatGPT, and I read Claude code into the project as a third AI partner. Now, I know what you're saying. Really, Guri? A third LLM? I'm so glad that I did, because it was Claude Code who really synthesized what Claude had been cooking into that first draft of a solidified plan. I copied that plan into a Google Doc, I downloaded it, and I popped it into ChatGPT for yet another opinion. It listed what was already strong, and it offered a look at potential gaps, so I brought them back to Claude. Claude shared what ChatGPT got right and where I'd push back. One of my favorite things to do is to watch where they take each other's advice and where they challenge it. I do not inherently trust any single AI, so I use them in concert to help me separate truth and accuracy from false confidence. You can do the same by letting each AI build on the other's work. Watch where they agree and where they disagree. Letting their disagreements reveal what matters most to you. My rigorous prep was complete, and it was time for what I'd now consider the fun part, rigorous play. So after all that preparation, I shifted from prep into play. But here's what I knew. Before I could coach the AI through the nuance of my style, I'd first have to teach it my patterns and my preferences. Think of it this way. You've got this brilliant but overeager intern who can and often wants to write you a therapeutic novel when what's called for might be as simple as the words, I hear you. The teaching phase would be about helping the AI understand both extremes. Then I'd be able to coach it to discern what the human being on the other side is going to need. The novelist, or simply to not feel alone. I asked Claude Code to think ultra hard about my coaching patterns. Claude Code is a power tool for structured thinking, problem solving, and automation. I talk about nervous excitement because I had no idea what it was going to come back with. Claude Code spent 4 minutes and 24 seconds. It was putting in the time. Do you know how much fun it is to have something so wickedly smart study the way that you do something and then reflect back to you what they see? This is what I am so passionate about. The things it was reflecting back to me felt like me. Okay, clearly, I'm easily excitable. So I'm going to catch my breath while I offer you this next practical framework that you can use. Have AI analyze your successful work to see your patterns through fresh eyes. Give it all this context. Then review what it sees and compare that to what you know about yourself. And pay special attention to the patterns you either hadn't noticed that it's calling out, or to the patterns that you have noticed, but that it's expressing in a unique way. See, the key insight here is that your patterns, when made visible, these are the key differentiator in how you approach your work. There's nobody else who can do it exactly like you do because there's no one else who has the same lived experience. So being able to make that visible, that is gold. You can use it as a beacon to draw the people who are looking for what you bring to the world.
If you're like me and you produce an absurd amount of content while building with AI, if you're simply drowning in timestamps and version numbers, you need project management. Don't panic. Just ask your AI.
A quick lesson. Chatbots operate on a set of custom instructions that tell them what to do, and a knowledge base that provides them with the specific facts, examples, and context that they can draw from when they're responding to a user. Claude Code has access to a folder on my desktop computer for this project. I asked, can you please add documents that you deem appropriate for the knowledge base for our AI chatbot based on all we had just surfaced? Tell me that there isn't something like insanely magical about giving AI a single prompt and then seeing 4 documents appear in one of your folders. Claude Code had just created the first 4 drafts of those documents, which will become our chatbot's knowledge base. 12 documents later, we graduated from our knowledge base to the 6 different sets of custom instructions that we would now need. Now that the AI understood my methods, it was time to see if it could actually deploy them with the right nuance. I was going to create a learning feedback loop where the AI could teach itself through role play with me, the original creator of the workshop. Here's how it worked. I would play dual roles as 1, a workshop participant bringing real human responses, and 2, the coach to the AI coach. I was the coach's coach. In essence, the AI would follow its custom instructions for each step in the workshop and coach me as the user based on what I'd learned. And then while responding as the user, I would also coach the AI coach. Then at the end of each round, I would ask the AI to summarize what it learned and then revise its instructions based on those learnings. Learning, feedback, loop. Here is an example of me teaching AI when to slow down. In our workshop, love is the most selected word. And for some people, love is it. But within the context of this workshop, love is sometimes a word chosen when people are having a hard time naming something else. Okay, Claude, I offered so many other rich words that we need to find a way to give me permission to choose one of those as my version of love. How might you do that? Click. Note that I don't tell the AI how to solve my challenge to it. I'm letting it figure that out. If it does, I'll ask what it learned to do. If it doesn't, I'll nudge it in the right direction and let it try again. This is the learning loop in action. Here, you can see the AI learned to slow down while it also learned the power of connecting dots for the user. This meant that the AI was ready for a more difficult lesson. It was going to need to be able to hold space for real human pain that sometimes shows up. How are we going to approach that? It was like my mother's light went out that day. She was removed from our family and she was institutionalized, and I felt left in the dark. That was the exact moment when the universe came along and smashed my belief that I was special. We all have a number of these collision moments. The safety that comes from the abundance of our one word is suddenly obliterated. The universe comes along and hits us with a 2x4 across the face and says, the world is not what you thought it was. I would virtually guarantee that you've had collisions that have knocked you off balance. Hopefully, as I'm sharing, one of your collision moments is coming to mind for you. It was imperative to coach the AI to be sensitive to the user in very specific ways that I've learned through my Gestalt training. The thing about AI, though, is that you cannot let your guard down for a minute. It was doing so well. And then I, as the role-playing user, told it that my father had passed away. And it pretty much said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Can we please get back to the workshop? That reads like, that's a bummer, but we have to move on. How might you add breathing room after I'm sorry for your loss? This is crucial coaching, not just correcting what you wanted to say, but helping the AI understand the weight behind its words and where it needs to be more thoughtful. Watch how it approaches this moment the second time. When Claude was responding appropriately about 80% of the time, I once again needed to shift my focus. I would later return and bring that 80% up to 95%, so calm down. But for now, it was time to start building this chatbot. I decided to use Chatbase because I knew it integrated easily with our learning platform, Thinkific. Now, most of Chatbase's customers, they create chatbots for their websites to answer visitors' questions, to capture leads. But when I originally learned about Chatbase, I saw other use cases like training tools for our numerous courses. I had previously used Chatbase for a training chatbot for our course on redirecting people's negativity. I knew that their service maintains the context of a conversation, meaning that if I'm chatting with the bot, close their website, and then return to that URL an hour later, our conversation is still intact. That continuity of the conversation is what would allow the bot to connect dots through each of the sections when it comes time to helping to assemble the actual purpose statement with someone. So I'm not a paid spokesman, but I will show you how easy it is to use Chatbase. When you're ready to start, you select New AI Agent, and it's going to bring you to a menu like this on the left. We're going to start over in general here. First thing we want to do is we want to name our bot. We want to go ahead and save that. Next, we're going to go over to our settings AI. This is where we're going to select our model. You have a vast array of choices of what's under the hood. Opus is my preferred, 4.1 is my preferred, but the costs are 20 versus Sonnet. 4 currently costs are 1. That's what I'll go with for now. I'm going to use a custom prompt. There are other options here, but as you know, I had been building rigorously to create my own set of custom instructions, which Chatbase calls a custom prompt. For the temperature, I tend to go with about a 0.1, which essentially means that I really want this thing to adhere to the instructions that I'm going to give it. As far as the prompt itself, I'm going to go ahead and grab the instructions that I have been working on. I'm going to copy those and we're going to drop them in here. Now, my custom instructions are a bit over 1,500 words. They establish the conversational protocol for the AI stage by stage. Essentially, they're ensuring that it behaves as a structured facilitator rather than a freeform chatbot. Now that I've got the instructions in here, I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to hit save. Next, we're going to go over to our sources. This is the knowledge base that you've heard me working on. Remember, I had those wonderful 6 documents that Claude and Claude Code and ChatGPT all helped me with. So I'm going to drop all 6 of those in here. Those are my AI coaching style guide, our shared principles, quick intervention guide, stage-specific response frameworks. All of these are things that it can pull from as it's engaging with a user. So next we're going to go back and we're going to go over to our settings again, and we're going to go to the chat interface. The display name we want is Purpose Coach. Our initial message here might say something like, "Welcome to the Purpose Workshop Companion. I'm here to support you through discovering your purpose statement." I'm going to click save again. For the footer, I'm going to go ahead and paste in our traditional chatbot disclaimer. Then I'm going to hit save again. Now I'm going to move from content over to style here. I like the light background. I've already uploaded my picture. I'm going to switch over to our brand colors. And once again, I'm going to hit save. So now I'm going to go back to sources, back to files, and this is where I click retrain the agent. It's got my 6 files, it's got my custom instructions, my chatbot is trained and it's ready. So I'm going to go over to the playground where I'm actually going to see what it would look like for a user. Welcome to the Purpose Workshop Companion. I'm here to support you through discovering your purpose statement. Okay, I want to go over now to settings security. I need to make sure that this is listed as public, which it is, but that way when we embed it into Thinkific, it will be viewable. And then I'm going to go over to deploy, embed. You can embed it in a chat bubble or you can embed the iframe directly. I'm going to embed the iframe directly. I'm going to copy this right here. That's what's going to go into the multimedia lesson on Thinkific. And I'm going to pop that in a second, and then we're going to see this thing rock and roll. The first interaction was beautiful. The chatbot asked me how I was feeling, why I wanted to explore my purpose. I felt very impressed. I clicked continue on to the next lesson. watched the video, clicked continue again, arrived back at our chatbot, and nothing happened. It was supposed to know I had returned, but now the chatbot and I seemed to be staring at one another, not sure who was supposed to talk first. The previous conversation was still visible. I could scroll up and see our earlier exchange, but there was no new message. Could I have built a chatbot that couldn't initiate the conversation at each next lesson? As a coach, it knew exactly what to say, but it would only speak when spoken to. All right, it was time to get back to work. First, I went to Claude Code, who assured me there was a simple fix. Come to find out, this simple fix only worked for new conversations, not existing ones. It's not what I needed. In my case, the chatbot was technically working, but fundamentally couldn't anticipate a user's return to each of the 5 points it needed to coach them through. And this, of course, was the problem. I had 3 non-negotiables to solve. The chatbot needed to 1, maintain conversation memory across all workshop lessons, 2, know which video someone had just watched, and 3, guide them appropriately through the next step. I had browser tabs open with Claude and ChatGPT and a terminal open with Claude Code. All 3 were absolutely certain that they could solve this challenge. I was copying and pasting between them, leveraging their different superpowers, ChatGPT for deep research, Claude Code for implementation, Claude for evaluations. But after hours of frustrating attempts that yielded only 2 of my 3 non-negotiables at best, all 3 AIs suggested I remove the memory requirement, which would make each of the interactions throughout the workshop its own conversation. I was exhausted. And these 3 AIs that seemed to so deeply understand what we were doing together suddenly seemed like they didn't understand me or what was important to me at all. I gave them an immediate no. Their solution was unacceptable. The workshop is valuable to people because it helps connect dots that we as human beings have trouble connecting ourselves. Take that away, and you'll drain the magic right out of it. Here's your next practical tip. The moment that you see your AI veering off course, you've got to step in immediately. If you wait a few rounds of outputs to correct them, the project can take a wild turn and entirely deflate your motivation. So don't be afraid to speak up and remind your AI of your non-negotiables at each and every step. Those are your guardrails against AI drift. At this point, I won't lie, I started feeling the dread of failure. And then when ChatGPT's next round of deep research pointed out everything wrong with Chatbase and suggested that we move to another platform, I literally walked away from my computer.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine. And you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
After a night of rest, I returned the next morning, and after pouring through literally hundreds of pages of my conversations with all 3 LLMs, something finally caught my eye. It was a suggestion from Claude Code that I had entirely dismissed just the previous afternoon because it felt like a cop-out. The suggestion? What if we just had the user tell the coach it had returned after watching the latest video? I hated the idea of asking the user to have to own that. It honestly made me sick to my stomach because asking them to think at all, it would take them out of this embodied experience that they're having and into a cognitive one. And I just couldn't see a world where that benefited the user. But then I saw the version of the idea that Claude Code had brought up the day before. It was simple. It was the use of the word hello each time the user moved on to the next lesson. Hello. When one of the AIs called the repetition of hello a form of ritual, I actually felt my nervous system settling down, because rituals tend to require less thought each time that we do them. And when another suggested it also allows them to control when they're ready to continue, I felt myself do that puppy dog head tilt. I was curious. See, in our workshop, especially as it gets emotionally deeper, participants sometimes need just a bit of space to breathe. Allowing them to initiate each dialogue with the chatbot by simply typing hello wasn't necessarily a technical limitation. It could be a way of offering them control over their pacing. It just might be a respectful, elegant solution. So I revised the custom instructions, and then I tested the approach. And when I typed hello, the chatbot responded, "Welcome back," 5 letters, HELLO. It felt simple and felt human.
It was Tuesday, or maybe Thursday. Time loses meaning when you're deep in the code. The case file read like a paradox wrapped in an enigma stuffed inside a chatbot. My client, let's call him the coach, had split personalities, 6 of them to be exact. Each one knew exactly what stage of life that they were in. The introduction, the meditation, the collision, you name it. Here's where it gets messy, see. The coach needed to remember everything from their past conversations. Every confession, every breakthrough, every tear shed in every stage. Classic memory persistence case. Now the dame at Chatbase said it couldn't be done. Wise guys that think you're fixed just shrugged. Even Claude Code, that smooth talking algorithmic angel, was stumped. They called it the case of the stage-struck chatbot. Me? I called it Tuesday. Or was it Thursday?
With the chatbot now working, I tested the full journey twice more. After each video lesson, a simple hello brought my purpose coach to life to guide me. It held space where it needed to hold space. It gracefully reined me in when I veered off the trail. And it wove our entire conversation together using my purpose formula and yielding some stunning results. After easily more than 100 hours, I felt like I could finally relax. Here's your final practical tip. Be rigorous about what matters. If you're building something meaningful intended to be used by other people, test it like their experience depends on it. Give it the very best context you can. Coach the heck out of it. And then test every edge case that you can think of. And remember, sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most sophisticated one. It's the one that honors both the technology and our humanity. And that brings me back to you. You have just watched me be both silly and sincere. You've seen me prep rigorously, play rigorously, and build rigorously. And you witnessed my struggled attempts at building the final bot that were only realized through surrender. Maybe you laughed in a few places. Maybe you saw some of your own frustrations in mine. Maybe you feel like your eyes have been opened to the many more ways that you could play with AI. But here's what I really hope that you heard. You have a purpose, your own unique way of moving through the world. Whether you're working with AI or tackling any other challenge, you're bringing something to the world that only you can bring. The way that you'll solve problems, the standards that you'll refuse to compromise, the creative solutions that you'll discover at 3 a.m, each of those will be uniquely yours because you're a brilliant and beautiful human being. Not because you have the perfect prompt or know how to use this AI model or that, but because what you're building matters. How you're building it matters. And you matter. So go do that hard thing that you've been thinking about. I'll be here cheering you on. And so will your AI.